A major bombing rocks a nation's capital. The official story is straightforward. It was terrorism. But there's another theory spreading, a really controversial one, that suggests this whole attack was something else entirely. Okay, let's get into it.
So let's start with the hard facts. On Tuesday, November 11th, 2025, a suicide bombing in Islamabad killed at least 12 people. That's a stark, brutal number, and it's the tragic event at the very center of everything we're talking about today. The official story, coming from Pakistan's interior minister, is that the attacker was trying to hit the court complex itself. When they couldn't get in, they blew themselves up near a police vehicle. That's the sequence of events as we've been told.
And right here, this is where things get complicated. Because almost as soon as the official story came out, a completely different interpretation started to surface, one that calls everything you just heard into question. All right, so here's how we're going to break this all down. We'll start with the attack, then unpack this false flag theory. We'll get into the alleged geopolitical strategy behind it, look at the incredibly tense situation that's feeding these ideas, and then we'll get to the bottom of it all, fact or fiction.
So let's dive into the main event here, what people are calling the Asim Munir false flag theory. Now, I have to be clear, this is a speculative claim, but it's a claim that connects some very specific and pretty troubling dots.
The first piece of the puzzle is all about timing. You see, the Islamabad bombing didn't just happen out of the blue. It came literally the day after a deadly explosion in Delhi, India. Now, for the people who believe this theory, that's no coincidence. It's clue number one.
So what is a false flag in this context? Well, the theory claims the Islamabad attack wasn't carried out by some outside terrorist group. Instead, it was secretly orchestrated by people inside Pakistan's own establishment to achieve their own strategic goals.
And that, of course, leads to the million-dollar question, why? I mean, if the theory is true, what could possibly motivate such a horrible act? Let's look at the alleged playbook here.
Believers in this theory lay out a pretty clear four-step plan. Step 1. Deflect any potential retaliation from India for the Delhi blast by immediately looking like a fellow victim of terror. 2. Rally your own divided country against a common enemy. 3. Use that victim status to get international sympathy and aid. And 4. Push all the blame onto someone else.
And this last step, externalizing the blame, is just crucial. The finger got pointed almost immediately at the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP. And from there, it's a short jump to blaming neighbors like Afghanistan and even India for supposedly being involved. Suddenly, you've got a clear bad guy and nobody's looking at problems at home.
You know, a theory this explosive doesn't just pop up in a vacuum. It grows in a very specific, very volatile environment, both at home and abroad. To get why this idea is even being talked about, you have to understand the backdrop.
I mean, just look at the tension with India. You can feel it. This quote from Pakistan's army chief, General Asim Munir, really says it all. The language being used between these two nuclear powers is incredibly high stakes, and it sets a very, very tense stage. And it's not just about India. The relationship with Afghanistan is also really strained because of the TTP. But here's where it gets messy. The TTP actually came out and claimed responsibility for the bombing. Now, you'd think that would settle it, right? But for the theorists, that's not a problem. They just argue that a claim like that could be forced or manipulated, or maybe it's just a perfect cover story for the real plotters.
And while all this is going on with its neighbors, things are shaky inside Pakistan too. There's this growing feeling that the courts are being weakened and political opposition to the powerful military establishment is getting louder. And, well, nothing distracts from problems at home quite like a crisis abroad.
So, we've looked at the attack, the theory, and the context. What does it all boil down to? When you strip everything away, you're left with one single, deeply shocking claim.
And this is it. This is the heart of the matter. The theory, in its rawest form, is that a country's own establishment would be willing to sacrifice its own citizens. That this was a cold, calculated move designed to play geopolitical games and tighten their own grip on power.
It's a really disturbing thought, and it kind of leaves us with this big, lingering question. Whether you think this theory is credible or just wild speculation, it forces you to wonder, in this shadowy world of high-stakes conflict, where exactly is the line between a security strategy and just straight-up public deception?